Merriam-Webster defines the term narcissist as an extremely self-centered person who has an exaggerated sense of self-importance. WebMD states that narcissism is extreme self-involvement to the degree that it makes a person ignore the needs of those around them. While everyone may show occasional narcissistic behavior, true narcissists frequently disregard others or their feelings. They also do not understand the effect that their behavior has on other people. You could say that a narcissist is a self-centered person to an extreme degree. While we all have narcissistic traits or different needs and interests that might be considered selfish, a true narcissist is someone who only thinks about themselves, and they do it at the expense of the well-being of others to some degree or another. In other words, they truly don't care about anybody but themselves. Furthermore, they don't care who they hurt or negatively impact to get what they want, which fundamentally is attention and focus on them, or what's called narcissistic supply. Narcissism is a spectrum, of course, and different people can have different degrees of narcissistic traits. It's one thing to have an overinflated ego or all attention to be on you, such as is the case with many celebrities or entertainers, but when it gets to the extreme of narcissistic personality disorder, unfortunately you are now dealing with someone who is extremely volatile, erratic, manipulative, and abusive. A true narcissist has a deep need to have everything be about them, even if they have to manipulate people's attention to be on them. They generally do this either by causing some kind of crisis or calamity, or even starting fights or arguments just so that your attention is focused on them, even though it's a negative form of attention. Their extreme self-centered view of the world and of themselves is such that they believe that people around them are doing things or not doing things because it has something to do with the narcissistic person themselves, even though someone might be doing something for a reason that has absolutely nothing to do with the narcissist at all. The narcissist believes the overwhelming feelings they have on a regular basis are being caused by the people around them and thus believe they are under constant attack. They then react to these overwhelming feelings that they believe are being caused by someone else and lash out at a particular target based purely on their own irrational feelings and beliefs. A narcissistic person generally has what's called a narcissistic wound. This is an emotional and psychological wound that they got at some point in their lives from some form of trauma, generally because they themselves have gone through narcissistic abuse. Because this narcissistic wound or initial traumatic event in their lives is so extreme and painful, their minds push it back to the subconscious and dissociate from it to a degree so they don't have to risk re-experiencing it. Because of this, they can no longer truly look within themselves or open themselves up to any form of criticism in any way, lest they trigger the intense feelings of shame and overwhelm from their initial traumatic event in their lives. Due to this extreme emotional and psychological state they are in, they never develop properly emotionally and so are sort of stuck in a state of being an emotional child. Because of this emotional state they are in, they need everything to be about them because they feel that nothing ever truly is about them, and so they can never get their emotional needs met. In other words, they are sort of stuck in an emotional hell because they either can't or refuse to deal with their unresolved emotional trauma and get their emotional needs met in a healthy way. While this is understandable to a degree, the problem is that instead of trying to look within to resolve their emotional trauma and get their emotional needs met in a healthy way, again because they either can't or refuse to, they project their unresolved issues onto others and become extremely abusive emotionally and mentally, if not in other ways as well. Usually there is a specific target for their wrath, called a scapegoat, that they use to unleash all their rage and fury onto. The healthy thing to do, of course, to get one's emotional needs met is to communicate one's needs to others in a healthy and respectful way, go see a therapist, attend a support group, or do some journaling on one's true thoughts and feelings. Just because one is in emotional pain and needs some help does not give them the right to be abusive to others. Now, the mental health field says that these types of people can't be treated or healed in a real way. It is widely believed that this is the case simply because the narcissist either can't or won't genuinely look within themselves to see any possible flaws or risk re-experiencing feelings of intense shame, guilt, and fear from any past trauma. It is truly an extremely sad state of affairs for all involved. But because the narcissistic person either can't change or doesn't want to and continues their abusive behavior towards certain others, the only real solution for dealing with these people is to go no contact. If you are interested in learning more about narcissistic personality disorder, narcissistic abuse, or CPTSD, this channel is dedicated to just that, so you are in the right place. If you believe you have been through narcissistic abuse and struggle with some form of inner trauma or CPTSD, there is a course available through this site and channel to help you to heal and take your life back. You are not crazy, you are not alone, and you can heal and take your life back if you want to. All links are in the description below.